I'm not saying abort if you're poor. I'm saying maybe just use condoms or something. Just some preventative measures would be necessary.
How do you know they didn't lose their job? How do you know a parent didn't die? How do you know that there wasn't an industry that went away? How do you know that there wasn't a fucking insurrection and coup in the country?
Are you supposed to plan ahead? Are you supposed to plan ahead? I would think that I would think that you would at least, if you insist on becoming a parent, you would at least be trying to think 18 years ahead. Make sure you
plan for the next war. Don't do anything with Israel, attacking Iran. Make sure you stop doing what you...
Yeah. I prepared.
Look, a lot of people got emotional from this topic, and I'm going to just say it again. Love your parents. I know it's hard.
I just want Concrete to go wherever Andrew is and accuse him of being a bad Christian while being what he is among us every day. Let's do that.
Charlie, chill. All I'm saying is this. I know it's difficult for you even to honor your mother. Listen, our brothers and sisters. I know it's difficult for you to honor your mothers and fathers, and it's easy to disrespect them and call them out their name and shame them for their mistakes. But if your life was put on Times Square on that big-ass TV for the world to see, you were hiding, ducking shame. So like Jesus said, don't take the speck out your eye when you got a big-ass log in there and want to blow the speck out the nigga eye. There's something wrong with you.
I think
it means like you have trauma. Not only you and Jimmy both have trauma told y'all parents. Y'all need to learn to forgive. If you can't forgive your parents, you're not going to forgive those people y'all fucking. That's crazy.
I did not know that.
What a troll.
I was saying like 2 days ago, I am so damn thankful for my parents. It doesn't have to be. It does not have to be Mother or Father's Day for me to just randomly remember.
They do this on Father's Day.
My God, I was so blessed to be born.
Hey man, what did you
do? Loving, supportive.
Did you do something disgusting to your child? Is that what you're advocating?
You know what? I worked for a long time. I worked in child protective services, and I see some fucked up shit. So don't go around judging people and shit.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Just because I came from a good.
Oh no. Well, yeah. So my aunt also. Huh?
Why you do that to her, Charlie?
What was that, Nathan?
Yeah.
Nathan is a troll first and foremost. But then also, my aunt worked in child protective services as well when I was a kid. When I was a kid, and one of the first things she told me was, it's mostly like white people, and like there's this narrative around black people and parenting, and although like generally like black people are refusing to dissociate themselves from spankings, it's not like a racialized issue. Being a bad parent happens across the spectrum, across all spectrums, racial, like classes, like that's like people are really out here fucking up their kids.
Callie, look, you making exception a standard, and that's fucking insane. That's fucking insane, yo. And James, he's doing that shit too. And I think it's beneath you people who was raised on
it's exceptional to love your child.
But you think this narrative, it is low class.
To feed your child, that's exceptional. That's above average. To make sure your child is okay.
If you wasn't laughing,
that's above average.
If you wasn't laughing, I could hit your point.
You're retarded, my guy. It's gotta be a troll. It's gotta be a troll, son.
Yeah. Just love your parents and honor them.
No, but I don't think anyone escapes childhood like untarnished. Your parents aren't always going to be the source, but I would also be willing to say that the extremely fucked up shit, that's where CPS is. But like food insecurity or being left alone for an hour or so more than you probably should have. That's in the landscape of normal ways parents are gonna.
That's what Loki is describing. He's advocating for it. That's good. This character building. That's what Loki's advocating for. That's retarded.
All right, here, look. Instead of making it homonyms, I'm gonna give examples. Right? They will have you believe that people who can't afford to eat, people who are struggling in society, they do not deserve to be parents. different than Charles Darwin when he said his little social experiment that people are poor because they choose to be poor. If we was to go back in time in a time machine and look at the slaves, right, and see children getting their asses whooped while their parents are standing right there, this man would say they was bad parents because the ultimatum and the choices they was allowed, they're not allowed to be parents. I don't think he knows what a parent is.
Parenthood is a choice. Parenthood is a choice. Slavery is not.
Also, didn't we start this conversation with like personal story? I didn't hear anyone make the claim that this was like. Anyway, sorry,
No, no problem at all. I don't think if you're, what Loki said is ridiculous. Like, if you're striving to be a good parent, then there are certain things like the examples I gave, like food insecurity and leaving your kid home alone, that aren't gonna be part of what you're attempting at. No one's going to be a perfect parent. No one's going to escape childhood without some sort of potentially traumatic experience. But no one is saying whatever the hell Loki said.
Yeah, so technically, I think you're a perfect person to ask this question. When Moses, right, his little Ethiopian wife said for him to take the rock and smash the front foreskin of his little infant child, right, and circumcise him, would you say he was a bad parent at that moment? Or would your religion or would your morality change that decision?
Well, the kid's not going to remember that. And
fucking holes in the throat.
Yeah, no, that's not what I did. Anyway, kid's not going to remember being circumcised, though there is a movement of people who think circumcision is
so
so circumcision is equal to being a bad. It's like an earpiece. What are we talking about, Loki?
So you said, hold on. So you don't think circumcision?
So what are we talking about, Loki?
Hold on, I'm gonna ask you again. I'm just confused. You don't think circumcision is mutilation?
No.
It literally is genital mutilation
by
staff.
No, it is not mutilation.
It literally is.
No, it is not mutilation.
You're literally cutting off. You're literally cutting.
Not mutilation.
You're literally
a tongue piercing is not mutilation. You guys are retarded.
We talking about
No, we're talking about.
This is a retarded
We're talking about.
I am absolutely happy that I'm circumcised. This is fucking retarded.
Look, he got trauma.
This is retarded.
On his dick with his parent.
Most men that are circumcised are absolutely ecstatic that they're circumcised.
Yeah, but for different reasons. I did it for Abraham, nigga.
I did it because it's more aerodynamic, a little more sleek.
You did it because you're in the West.
Way better.
Daddy don't like turtlenecks. Daddy don't like turtlenecks.
It's just common practice. It's just common practice here.
Facts.
You didn't do it for Abraham, probably.
I just like to say this. Thank you, Bima, and whoever. I think Matt. We beat this fucking foreigner. That's all. I'm done with this conversation since I won. Love your parents.
You
and
did
honor them.
not.
That's the moral of the story.
You did not win anything.
Well, what was that term from earlier that I learned? Pigeon chess? Did you go, bitch? Just pigeon chess us?
Probably.
Yeah, I think it's where the bird flies in, fucks up the board, and then claims victory.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to show you my suitcase.
But no, I mean, here's the thing, Jacobus. You're totally entitled to your viewpoint, but I'm just saying, we are going to view parenthood a different way. My thing is, I forgave my parents, but I still didn't talk to them for a long time. I didn't talk to them for a minute. I still forgave them, though, and I ended up talking to them towards the end, but damn. Took me a minute. And it takes everyone a minute.
I'll tell you this, sort of, Ricky. It's crazy, because today's Father's Day, right? I used to call my daddy every night, early in the morning, every night. It was many times I was angry at that nigga. But one day, I could never call him no more. And he would never pick up the phone. And that hurts.
I wouldn't pick up the phone for you neither.
Oh, I love that song by Destiny's Child's Bugaboo, where they're like...
Sounds like y'all are upset. Jacoba's cooked. Y'all are upset. Jacoba's cooked. 100% Jacob.
He doesn't... he's never been in the vicinity of a stove. Hug up, and you know it.
He's cooking right now.
Put that in motion.
Jacoba's cooked, y'all. And then y'all got emotional about mutilation because you guys are happy with your dicks. Hey, I don't know if you guys...
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm having a little bit of an anxiety attack right now because it started raining hella hard and it's starting to fill up really quick on the streets over here and I'm scared.
That's because God is crying with you.
You guys discussed the Iran-Israel thing already?
Man, I hope Israel can protect themselves from the nuclear threat from Iran and their provocative behavior, man.
That's such a random...
Well, I think they were talking about it this morning, but you're more than welcome to share your thoughts.
Wait, I'm sorry. My daughter was talking over you. My bad.
That's fine. I said I think they were talking about it this morning, but you're more than welcome to share your thoughts.
No, I just came from a room that was discussing it. And, I don't know how you guys feel, but of course this is a fair fight. So I'm like, whatever, whoever wins, wins. Nobody should feel the way. But I think the world would be okay with Zionism if Zionists just stood on business. I don't know, man. Because I'm pro-Israel, but, the Zionists still annoy me despite me being pro-Israel because I just hate when, I hate the victimhood aspect of everything because I've never met a victim with a nuclear bomb in their pocket. It just doesn't make sense to me, right? It just doesn't. It's like if they stood on business and said, look, we got kicked out over 100 countries and I'm creating my own country, rain, sleet, storm. If I got to kill somebody, I'll kill somebody, but I'm creating my own country. I'd respect it. If they just stood on business and were honest and said, look, these little guys in Gaza, we got to get rid of them. We got to do what we got to do. I said, look, they were messed with for hundreds of years. I feel them. I'd probably do the same thing. But it's always, I'm a victim. But bro, you got all the missiles in the world. You're not a victim anymore, But that's the only thing that annoys me.
Wait, you think it's a fair fight?
Right. I don't think it's a fair fight. I think it's a fair fight. Iran versus Iran.
Nukes,
Iran versus Israel is a fair fight.
Bro, Israel.
They're not using the nukes. You have no reason. You're not using the nukes though.
They're in a different fucking ballpark when we're talking about the level of armament between the two countries.
Hold on.
It's definitely not a fair.
Who do you think got the upper hand?
Oh, bro, Israel, man.
Oh no, you're wrong about that. You're wrong about that.
Fucking heck, bro. I'm not wrong about that.
Iron
Israel only has. You guys can get emotional because you guys are pro-Israel, assuming I'm pro-Iran. So Israel has the one technological edge. Two, Israel also has all of the countries in its neighboring areas supporting them by blocking out their airspace. It's definitely not a fucking fair fight. Iran produces its own. That's not even in the question, bro. They completely decimated Iran.
They always do this. They always do this. This is like the same guy. You American? You're American, like through and through, born and raised.
I'm born and raised American.
Yeah, that's American culture speaking because we think like this. Here, it's the same situation in Afghanistan. You can bomb them all you want. You can't go. With all your money and all your equipment, you're never going to win. It's the same situation. The Persian Empire, never been conquered. Afghanistan, same situation. Never been conquered. You can throw as many missiles as you want. You're not going in. And you're not dominating that area. Right?
Tell that to the Gazans. I mean, if you blow this shit up out of all of them, then what can you do?
I agree with you. By the way, I'm from the region, right? So I agree with you. I share a border with Iran. My home country shares a border with Iran. I know of all people how resilient and they will fight to the last person the Persians and Iranians are. But you can't discount the fact that one,
The IDF is a fucking powerhouse. Their special forces, the Mossad, the shit that they can do, and which they have been doing, is fucking way leaps and bounds over the ability of the regular Iranian people who are also tired, right? A lot of them, not a majority of them, but there is a group of them that wants the old regime in power. If you're paying attention to Twitter, Instagram, and like online, the Mohammad Reza's son, Reza, is now on a hardcore social media campaign about taking power back in Iran. But according to reports, Trump actually stopped the Israelis from taking Khomeini out, which is interesting, right? And gotta give credit where credit is due. I don't like the guy, but he made a smart choice because his response was allegedly, Iran hasn't directly attacked America yet. We cannot be in support of killing their supreme leader.
So
he didn't give
I will say this. I don't believe that they tried to take Khomeini out or even to. So secondly, Iran is not. The United States and Israel has not faced a real army, a real conventional army, and it is the first time Israel is actually facing one since '64, and we are seeing the devastation. This is not going to be a regular war where it's not even going to be about intelligence. This is going to be an air war. What are your armament? You cannot stop an hypersonic missile. Iran has not even started using the Fahad yet. They're still using missiles that are 20 years old. And we see the devastation. The THAAD system from the United States can't stop a supersonic missile, let alone a hypersonic missile.
They don't have enough of them either.
Right, and those are coming. Secondly, there is the psychological effect this is going to have on the Israeli population, because Israel said we are going to create a safe home for Jews everywhere. Right now, they can't uphold that promise. The Iranians spent 10 years fighting the Iraqis, so they know and they're accustomed to this shit. Like Jimmy said, you cannot invade them, so there will never be boots on the ground. Secondly, all the other countries that open up their fucking airspace, Iran can target them too. The Qataris are not a big country, so yeah, they can catch it too. The Saudis can catch it, and they are all using the American system. That has proven to fail so far. So now, this is going to be a war of attrition. Who can produce the fastest, and who can use the fastest? And I'm going to tell you why Israel will lose. They had the surprise attack on Thursday or whenever it happened. Then we see a de-escalation on the way they are attacking Israel, right? They use the drone, those run out. Israel doesn't have long-range missiles that can fly from Israel all the way to Iran. So they will probably try to use Iran, which is not a good thing. Secondly, this is the Chinese effect. China and Iran heavily. I'm part of a Telegram where we track military plane and flight that goes in and out. We've seen at least 15 flights coming from China. China is testing out their military hardware. Because with the lot of success Pakistan had against India, now they are testing even more. That's probably going to be the end of the real winner here. I think, in my opinion, this is going to be bad for Israel. And I think they need to have a come to Jesus moment before it's too late.
That's
hilarious. Hilarious.
Yo, can I give you some pushback? All Diddy? Can I give you some pushback? All Diddy? No pause. If you think that the Turkic nations are gonna allow Israel to fall, you're gonna have a very fun wake-up call, right? Because Azerbaijan has continued to launch missiles and drones from Baku towards Iran by the behest and order of Israel from Tel Aviv. And Turkey is also manning a bunch of F-15s and 35s in the air, blowing up whatever they can that's coming over the Jordanian airspace. Jordan really doesn't have much of an army nor a standing army to do anything. They're just a bunch of pussies. Everybody's known this. But the Turks and Azeris have very large standing armies that are very well equipped, and they need Israel to stay there because it guarantees their regional power, which is extremely important to the Turks in Ankara and Constantinople. They need this war, right? And they're tired of Iran posturing, trying to be the new regional superpower. Russia was supposed to come to the aid of Iran, but Russia's engulfed in a crazy war right now because it's wrapped up and is extremely, extremely more gruesome than it was a year, 2 years ago in Ukraine. Back and forth is crazy. And I don't know, the ultimate exclamation point is Iran requested mediation conversations 8 hours ago. They were denied, and then Israel or the U.S. approached, the West essentially approached for mediation while they were being bombed, and Iran said, go fuck yourself. So they're going back and forth on their position, too. They don't have a leg to stand on. I think that Israel will flatten Tehran by the time the IRGC can muster up troops. And that's with the help of the West, including the UK and the US.
But don't you think, like, well, I guess it's kind of telling that while they were engaged in conflict with people in Gaza, they're just chilling, right? But now that they've engaged with Iran, the leader of Israel is in Greece, if I'm not mistaken, right? And they've also taken steps to put their top leaders in civilian areas, right? In the event that if they do take damage, that they get to say, oh, they're killing civilians or something, right? That's the one argument that people make to say, like, it seems like Israel is afraid, right? But I feel like I do hope for the best for Israel, although I have criticism for some of their stances. I think they can pull it out, man, because they have much more advanced weaponry. They have the Iron Dome. They have a lot of American backing. I think that, with the support of the Americans and the surrounding region, they will be able to pull through. And I think that also if Iran attacks, somebody mentioned Saudi Arabia, or like if Iran engages with too many targets that are important to the Americans, they will not hesitate to just come in and stomp on the mouse, right? Because it's really, at the end of the day, if they do anything that makes the Americans get involved, it's over, right? So even whatever they do, they have to consider how will the Americans respond.
So I would say the topography of Iran makes it impossible to invade. That's why they've never been invaded but once in their entire existence. You cannot put boots on the ground in Iran. You cannot go to the
mountain.
You cannot go
bro.
to
The Armenians would beg to differ.
You cannot go to those mountains. It is what it is, right? Secondly, Iran will lose this if they let their little easy morality cloud the judgment. Only way they will lose this. If they get into their little heart and start being sensitive, because they got played. And the child could have seen this coming. Because most people who are into this space knew that Trump was not serious. There was no real negotiation. We knew we were looking at movement of airplane and the way there was those AB planes are flying near the border. They were doing recognitions like last week. So they coming. I don't know how they didn't see it coming. I think that's the only the Iranians are naive, and I will say this: they are incompetent and naive, and that will be probably their downfall. The fact that they never developed a nuclear weapon shows how naive they are, because they should have done it a long time ago. This pussy fooling around, having a fatwa saying, well, we don't want to have a nuclear weapon. Like, are you fucking crazy? And this is why we are where we are today. They don't have a deterrent. As far as Israel don't have the manpower. They don't have the army to even step foot on Iranian soil. They don't have the hardware either to do it without the United States. The United States can come and save them with some B-2s, but that will be it. The Iranians are now flying the suicide drone, the Syed 2. That's because the Iron Dome is not working. Once the Iron Dome stops working, Israel is wide open, and they will be flooded with those drones that are made for $10,000 each. So it will be a war of attrition. Right. It will be a war of attrition. Who can build faster and then who can use it? And that's what it's going to come down to. The United States is also not going to be stupid and put all their eggs in one basket and leave themselves open. Understand this. Yes, they can bring a striker group and an aircraft carrier. An hypersonic missile can take out an aircraft carrier. Nobody wants to do that. It takes 10 years to build one aircraft carrier. The United States doesn't have an indefinite amount of aircraft carrier, but we know Iran got almost 500,000 rockets, and that's a lot.
This is likely just going to be a long-range artillery war.
Yeah, most likely.
I agree with what you said partially. Sure, it is exceptionally difficult to invade Iran, but it can be done. You're just going to face exceptionally heavy losses. It's a terrible idea. You're going to have to go through their Alps. They're highly defense. They have their own defense missile system. I mean, you're just going to get bombarded and crushed if you try to stage a ground war. It's not smart. Which is why the Israeli Air Force is taking the charge in the fight, because that is their best option. It is concerning though, because there are going to be limitations. Like, for example, we know that Israel is nuclear armed. We know that the yield of Iranian long-range missiles, it's not super high. So these aren't like vacuum bombs. They're not bunker busters. They're not going to do wide-range damage. They're more meant for localized bombardment. So I don't know. We'll see. I just know that Israel's not used to getting hit, getting hit back. So we'll see how the population there handles it, if it causes unrest, because they are casualty averse, and we'll see how the political system evolves in the region.
I think that you guys need to take into consideration that the scopes of war and what we know of war has changed a lot in the last 5 years. Drone technology, missile technology, unmanned stuff, that's everything right now, right? And you cannot discredit the effect a regime change or a forced regime change can have. And if you've been keeping up with what's going on in Tehran, then you know that in the last 5-10 years, there's been multiple attempts and efforts to start civil unrest and uprising by the West. They've been doing it in every fucking small country in the Caucasus and in the Middle East. That is going to be your biggest danger. I'm down to have a one-on-one about this later, Matt, but it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to everybody. I'm going to go barbecue. I hope not a lot of people died. It's going to be the worst outcome, as a lot of innocent lives are going to be lost. But such is the cost of war.
Happy Father's Day, Hagap.
Happy
That
Awareness Week.
That is definitely true. I think two things will impact this war. I think social media will have a big impact, because the psychological effect it will have on people is going to be astronomical. Secondly, we are not the generation that can handle 10,000 body bag coming home. And then we are seeing, like, if you were on Twitter this weekend and you're watching those hypersonic missiles drop, they are terrifying. This is not something I would want to be like, oh yeah, sure, let's drop one in New York. Are you crazy? That's not something that I would support. And I don't think we have a population that can support this kind of thing and be like, yeah, sure, let's just go to war and accept that people will also attack us with this kind of weaponry. I don't think we have that kind of population.
Here's the problem, though. Like, if we just list several of their advantages, they have superior air power on the side of Israel. They have advanced missile defense. They have a higher tech military. They have battle-tested forces, highly trained with the U.S. They have U.S. strategic support. They have nuclear deterrence. They have advanced cybersecurity. they have a smaller but more agile and nimble military. So it's like all of these, and obviously it's not going to come to boots on the ground, hopefully, right? But so that means it is going to be a war of attrition and just who can use the better weapons from long range. And if it becomes that, Israel has better defenses for long range weapons, and Israel has better long range weapons. So it's ultimately like if we're in a shootout and I have an AK-47 and you have like a shotgun, you know what I'm saying? Like a shotgun is devastating, but you're gonna lose because I have an AK-47.
So
like I just have better shit. I have better shit.
So it's actually the opposite, and we are seeing that happening in Russia. So like Iran shot through F-35 yesterday. Like F-35 has never been shot down before. This is the first time in the history of the world they shot down an F-35. Those are stealth planes. They shot 2 of them down. Now, this is the thing those little countries do, right? An F-35 is close to $100 million. The little drone they are using are 10 grand. So you would need $100 million to replace that one F-35. $100 million give them, what, another million little drones? And that's what war attrition did. We've seen that in Vietnam. Yes, you can come with all the firepower, but the firepower is expensive, and you don't have unlimited fund to keep replacing it, to keep making it. And this is why, for instance, you will not see the U.S. put an aircraft carrier near Iran, because they would put a hypersonic missile in that fucking aircraft carrier, and it takes 10 years to build another one. Nobody's going to risk that.
Mont, not to interrupt you, but Frank, whoever the fuck you are, can you stop being a fucking weirdo and harassing art?
Let's Frank. Frank is the French guy who's semi-retarded.
Stop being a weirdo. To answer your question. No, it's not gonna happen. No. Appeal.
It's French. So we need to treat the French with the same regard we treat our lesser intelligent, retarded people.
Damn. Well, I mean, here's all I'm saying.
Frank, you ain't gonna do shit to me. Listen, you ain't gonna...
leave it in the chat.
This is Wallfly guy. Hey, Wallfly.
Bro, don't fall for it, bro. Frank is like undefeated. You can't beat the retard.
I mean, I see what you mean about the Vietnam being a war of attrition, but I feel like we only lost Vietnam because we were like, fuck this shit, and left. Like, we could have stayed and won, but we were like, what the fuck are we doing? This is pointless. We don't even get shit. So we left, right? I don't think Israel has those same weak motivations. I see the point of the cost of the equipment, but Israel has more financial resources, so if they wanted to resort to alternate means, then they could, to like less expensive means, right? So, I mean, if they run out of like $1 billion fighter jets, they can just release millions of those little ass drones, right? So it's like they just have more money and resources. Which means they're gonna survive the siege longer.
Lucas, so this is the thing that I think you forget. I think the Vietnam War, it's not that America could not have taken it on further. It was impacting the people's lives. So as soon as it starts to impact people's lives, people in power start to lose power or the grip on power. They don't want that. And I think this is why I feel like, again, I'm making a speculation here, right? You're right. I think Israel has the manpower and the resources to continue this. But the issue is politicians who are in power would be getting weaker and weaker as the war continues, and lives get lost. Would want to change in power, and I think in that idea they don't want to do it. So that's one of the main reasons why like a developed country who's like doing really well tries to not get into war directly is because of the fact that war is bad for business. Like your country's not doing well. Like your citizens are dying left and right. Nobody can hold on to stable power. There's a reason why countries that are like that go into civil war don't have like booming economies. So that's more of an issue than what. More like, it's more of that to me than.
I don't think Israel can do this by themselves. There's no way they're doing this by themselves. They will need the United States. Now it's going to come down to is the U.S. population ready to go back in the Middle East in a war with a real country this time? we going to go to war with a country that's going to put some of our family members in body bag?
Okay, well, let's just note here, if we go to global firepower, we have to note that Israel is a nuclear power country, right? So the reality is, outside of nuclear weapons, yes, these are two comparable militaries. Israel is the 5th strongest military in the world. 15th strongest military in the world. Iran is the 16th, right? Iran has significantly older weaponry, but they have a significantly larger volume of military resources, as well as a significantly more stable material economy. Now, they might not be as wealthy as a country as Israel, but they are not in a severe oil and gas deficit. They are not in a severe energy deficit when it comes to coal and electricity and etc. Israel is. So these are things that we need to take in consideration. And as they're tagging each other, right, as they're targeting different things, we need to note what is being targeted. So right now, Iran is focusing on attacking military and intelligence infrastructure to destabilize the military capability of Israel. Israel is targeting gas and high-ranking specific officials, right? And the reason why they're doing that is because when it comes to the long game of an artillery war, the advantages that Iran would be in their material resources, and advantages that Israel would be in their military capability. If Iran was smart, they would target the weak points of Israeli society, which would be their necessary infrastructure, the electrical grid, their gas resources, their water sources, etc. That would cause unrest in their society and significant fear. But I think that they're hesitant in doing something like that due to the unpredictability of the Israeli government and the fact that they have nukes. And the reality is, any war with a nuclear power nation is not a true war. It's essentially a facade, because that type of weaponry is always on the table. And if you threaten the stability of that country, that will be the last option. Dude, seriously, Frank, stop being a fucking weirdo. You're pissing me.
Just ignore Frank. That's just who he is.
I'll get honest, Frank. I would not be surprised if Iran already has a nuclear weapon they never announced. And I think Israel knows this, and I think people knows this, and they are trying to push that out. But I do think they have the nuclear weapon, and I think Iran is not attacking civilian infrastructure yet. But I think they will, based on what Israel does. Because earlier today, Israel bombed the Suez facility, which ended up releasing sewage all over Tehran. And I think it's going to be, if you do it to me, I'm going to do it to you. So that way Iran can keep a little bit moral ground toward Israel, because they don't want to get accused of bombing, civilian indiscriminately.
Okay, I think you want to go before I go.
Yes, thank you, Kojito. Amrad, I think I have two questions for you. The first thing is, have you looked at the cases where America went against certain countries with less firepower and ended up still coming out with a huge loss? Yeah, so those are things I think I would look into when you made the argument that, hey, Israel might come up better.
Well, you need to know the characteristics of those types of war. Like, for example, the Vietnam War, and also the Afghan War. These were invasions, right? And they were ground wars. They weren't artillery wars. These weren't wars done with drones or primarily long-range missiles and etc. Right? These were wars where they were spending exceptional amounts of resources, right, to migrate troops over on the ground, on base outside of their primary territory. So it's a different type of combat. Like it's even a different character of like when the United States became a major imperialist power after the Spanish-American War, because that was a naval war. Like Spain's ground army at that time would have wiped the floor with the United States. But the United States, at the time, being a weaker country, was able to defeat them and dismantling their resources because they focused on naval battle. So it depends on the character of the war. And since this is a long-range missile and artillery war, we're not sure what is going to necessarily happen yet.
Don't the majority of experts say Israel has the upper hand?
Sorry, Luke. I was going to say the second point. I think I agree with you, but I do. Well, we'll see. The modern warfare theater has changed for sure. So I would definitely have to say you have a valid point there. The second thing I would want to say is this: I think there is an agreement with nuclear powers to not use nuclear force on a country that does not have nuclear weapons. But we don't know if Iran has nuclear weapons, which means that there'll be two nuclear powers fighting with nuclear weapons. It'll be interesting to see, which hasn't happened. That was the second point I wanted to say, and that's all I have.
All right, I'm gonna jump in real quick. So I try to approach this in the most unbiased way. I'm not supporting either side here, but I think that it's deeper than this whole nuclear thing that has been projected in the media, and the reasoning why Israel said they did it, and I think it's poor justification. I mean, back in 2002, the U.S. and other countries knew that they had an enrichment facility, right? But I think it's the most recent thing that pushed, I believe, Israel over the line was that Iran they decided to back Gaza. I mean, they always have, but it was more so of a big push when, I guess when that attack happened, and Iran said, "Hey, we back them. They should, be able to, they are their own state. I should put it that way." And I think that pushed Israel over the line. So therefore, this whole excuse that, hey, we shot, and I think it is an excuse and poor justification, because I think that when it comes to nuclear power, I think each country, there's a lot of countries that doesn't say they have a nuclear weapon, but does. And it's almost like you sign a contract with the person, and let's just say specifically in this room, we made a bet or you sign an agreement or contract, and let's just say somebody renege on it or go, "Hey, I'm not going to, abide by the contract." Does that give a person a right to kill that person, right? I think that is stupid, and it's like a bad way to justify that, hey, we don't like you, because there may be pointing to the regime in Gaza, right? The Hamas. There may be some type of connection between Iran and them. I don't know. That's deep. But I think that Israel saw this as an opening to take a shot, and they did it. And for me, again, they have the backing of U.S. and also Iran. Guess who they have as allies? China and Russia. So this shit can go China, I don't know, wherever.
Not an ally of Iran. That's not true.
No,
okay, well, you can fact check it.
No, they are. They've been supplying them with weapons since the whole thing started. They're leading in a cargo plane landing in Tehran every day. Those are the only planes you see flying over Tehran. They're coming from China. They are really big allies. And I do think some of the jet fuel are coming from China. So you need the boosters for ICBM to go, and don't coming from China. People don't get it. It's a 6-hour flight from Tehran to Israel. It's a 6-hour flight on a regular plane. Those missiles are getting there in 14 minutes because they're hypersonic. They go 5 times the speed of sound, and they are getting technology from China.
Okay, again, trading with another country and having trade agreements is not having a military or political alliance with them. And China has neither a military nor political alliance with Iran. That is not true. And I get you. They have a relationship, But an alliance is a completely different formation.
Well, I mean, consider that if you
But
just ask AI.
Okay, you can ask AI too.
Well, I mean, fuck it. This is just the reality. China is supporting Iran economically, diplomatically, and strategically.
Okay, they don't.
How are they not allies?
Because an alliance is a very specific thing.
Define it.
Okay, I'll define it for you, and I'll put a link. Give me 5 seconds so I can get you.
You're right. So, like, if you go to war and you're being supported economically, diplomatically, and strategically, that would be an ally in that war, right? I don't know. I mean, I think the interesting point that I was gonna, I mean, like, some people are saying that they have like, some people are saying that they have like
a state,
that they have like nuclear weapons, right? That no one knows about. I don't think that's the case. Yeah, I don't think they have weapons no one knows about, because like the strategic thing to do would be to use that as a nuclear deterrent, right? So I think they're still developing the nukes.
Look, so 2 things, right? The first thing is you were right in the first aspect. In World War I, Turkey and Germany had a secret alliance which wasn't known until I think while the war was going on, I believe. So that could also be the case here. We don't know. And the second thing is, I think even Israel hasn't officially declared that they have nuclear weapons. They just have brushed aside the question about it. They haven't like officially told anybody that they have nuclear weapons. It's widely understood that they have. So like that's another point that I wanted to like add.
Right. I think the thing is too, I think when we look at Iran wants to kind of rejoin the international community and not have sanctions. They want to be part of SWIFT. They want to open the border to new market. They want to go into new market. So it's not in their best interest to announce that, oh yeah, sure, we have a nuclear bomb, because you see how North Korea is treated. They're like, all right, fuck these people, we leave them alone, and they're just not part of our system. I think sometimes the element of surprise, because Iran does this kind of thing where they don't tell you what they have, they kind of stay quiet, which sometimes it's annoying. And I think that's what we are seeing.
It's not possible, right? In the modern era, or any era during the development of the Manhattan Project and the atomic age, to hide nuclear weapons, because nuclear weapons aren't just like bullets or grenades. They need to be contained in specialized facilities and managed, because guess what? A hot bomb, right? A bomb that is charged and is utilizing enriched uranium, it lets off radiation, which means that it needs a containment facility. And typically, there's either going to need to be a specialized plane if you're going to drop it, if it's a gravity bomb that can carry it, or there needs to be a facility for the rockets to launch via, a intercontinental ballistic facility or a submarine. So no, there is zero evidence that Iran has a nuclear weapon, and we should not speculate one such, because we have satellites, right? Major governments would know if Iran had nuclear weapons or the capability to create such. Also, back to what it means to have a military alliance, the United States Defense describes an alliance as a formal agreement between 2 or more nations and national defense that their promises that they would support each other, particularly during a war. And I'm sorry, but no, China and Iran are not in an alliance. Okay? They don't have an alliance.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if we can go with that definition.
Please recommend the book.
It's okay.
Please recommend the nuclear war.
So the reason why I would say Iran does have a delivery system, right? It's called the RS-28. They bought it from Russia. It is the ICBM that can carry warhead. Secondly, the I think it's called Forson nuclear facility, which is inside a mountain. And that's why sometimes it doesn't give off radiation, because it's not built in a facility like conventional facility like other places. And so that's the hard part with Iran. They build their facilities inside mountain, which gives them the quote unquote the perfect cover. And this is why the attack the other day did not fell because they could not reach it where it was, because the natural forces of the mountain makes it almost impossible to even detect anything. Secondly, Iran has had experiencing a couple of low 4.9 earthquake lately in places where earthquake normally don't happen. And we do know that North Korea tested their weapon underground. And we are seeing the exact same sign that Iran is displaying the exact same sign that North Korea displayed when they were testing their weapon.
The radiation that is released, right, during proton and neutron decay, right, it does not get trapped by material such as mountainous material, quartz, and etc. People would still be able to detect, protons and neutrons streaming through the Earth. We do this all the time. It's how we carbon date things, actually. That is also how we can detect, very faint chemical signatures from distant planets, or understand the composition of other planets in our solar system, etc. Because these small particles, they penetrate through surfaces because they're tiny. They don't get absorbed. Also, some of this radiation, right, in a form of gamma radiation and etc. Also, forms of ultraviolet radiation. It is light, right? It is much smaller than any of the other particles that make up rock and stone. It would penetrate through them.
What you're saying makes no sense. Like, okay, post up an article that says you can measure it without the seismic. Like, what Matt said made sense. Like, when nucleus were down on the ground. Let me finish, please, and then you could respond back with I'm willing to learn. So what Matt said makes sense. Like, most of the things that when you talk about, like, hey, they can have nuclear power is measured by seismic activity. I've never seen anyone say, hey, the radiation is seeping through it. And also, like, I don't know what you talked about with carbon dating. I thought carbon dating was talking about carbon decay and not about radioactivity.
Correct.
So I'm kind of confused by that.
Carbon decay chaos. It lets off radiation, dude.
Yeah,
so
yes, it does. But I don't think it's not the same way that you're talking about. Okay,
it is quite literally a form of nuclear decay.
But the problem is, like, I just asked, like, have there been strange earthquakes that seem like nukes? The answer is scientific evidence does not support those claims, right? And I don't know, bro. I'm saying if they had nukes, none of this would be happening. Like, if all they would have to, like, no one fucks with North Korea because they have nukes. So, like, as soon as they had nukes, they would just say, hey, guys, we got nukes. And then no one would ever fuck with them ever. So it's like...
So there's a political ramification that North Korea doesn't care to be part of the world in a conventional way. Iran has other aspiration to be like a great country that want to participate in international game. They want to be the whole shit. They want to be part of the greater economy. When you are one of those hermit kingdom like North Korea, you are not part of these things. So it all depends on what is your objective and why do you want to do certain things. And I think that's the greater point here why a country would hide the fact that they have a nuclear weapon, because they know I might be ostracized.
Dude,
if I
can't
tell them that I have one.
Okay, so I'm gonna post a link here both for you and Chaos, and it gives information about radioactive penetration. This idea that you can just like hide nukes is insane. Like, maybe in individual parts with inert like non-active materials, sure, but that means that you have the materials to make a nuclear weapon quickly, but you don't have one, right? If you have a nuclear weapon that is actually charged and put together, it needs to be put in a container, and it is very easy to detect those locations, right? Unless you put significant effort significant efforts, which again, you're still going to be able to see what people are doing, right? It's still going to be easy to locate due to the nature of how particles interact with one another when they decay, when things give off radiation.
I'm not contesting what you're saying. I'm looking at a series of events and evidence that I'm asking myself, why does the country
I think he's in the Matrix. Is it just me? Or?
He's in the Matrix.
You're not just gonna get the gun without the bullet. So now you have it. So I'm wondering, why do you have it for if you don't have the bullet?
What?
We missed some of what he said because he was in the Matrix.
Oh, I was in the Matrix. No, what I'm saying is, it's like Iran have the delivery system. They have an ICBM that can carry warhead, right? So now it's like, why do you have an ICBM that can carry an atomic bomb, but yet you don't have an atomic bomb? Why would you go out of your way to collect it and buy it from Russia if you don't have the bullet to put in that gun?
I mean, again, there is a difference between having the material that you could very quickly put together, right? And having that already put together. Those are two different things, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah,
no,
they are.
No, it's not.
Okay, then you're an idiot. I don't know how to have a
No, it's
conversation.
not.
Okay, I don't know how to explain this to you, but if you have the materials to put together an engine, but the engine is not put together,
no, it's not
you attempt to drive your car.
I don't think this is your core competency.
Then guess what? The car is not going to drive.
Yeah, I don't think this is your core competency. You don't know what you're talking about. So weapons grade uranium is significantly different than the uranium used for power. And so the moment you have weapons grade uranium, you basically have a nuclear bomb.
But Jimmy, are you saying that Iran has a bomb that they're hiding? Because that's the point.
No, that's not what I'm saying. He just made a claim that if you have the parts, it's very different. Like no, the moment you have weapons grade, you have uranium refined to the point where you can actually execute a bomb. You basically have the bomb. Whether you assemble the bomb or not, you have it.
Oh, okay.
That's a digression, right?
Well, Jimmy, if they have weapons grade uranium, it would be detectable.
No, but they do. They have weapons grade uranium. That's actually common knowledge. They do have weapons grade uranium.